So hi, welcome to guys podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with.
I'm Nick from Make Them Suffer.
And we have some questions to say about the upcoming self-titled album. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
I'm excited for. We're all very excited for the release. It's always very hard to get an outsider's perspective on the anticipation for the record. We're all personally very excited. It's a self-titled record, and we've done that very purposefully. So from where we're sitting, it's something that we're all very excited about.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Mhm.
I think from the outside looking in, like from a fan's perspective, people are fucking amped on this record. I know I am personally, and getting to hear it early, I am blown the fuck away, to put it bluntly. I think this album is fantastic, and I'm stoked for the world to hear it.
That's great. Always glad to hear an outsider's perspective. Like I say, we just don't know what's going on in the outside world. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah. Is there any reason why this is your self-titled record, and is there any meaning behind the cover art?
yeah, it's a long story. So I really don't know where to start with this one. It depends how far you want to go back.
Let's do it.
But I think to best explain the long story short, the band underwent a radical change just outside of COVID season, or just at the end of COVID season. So I want to say, like early to mid 2022. We were at a point where we were going to break up. So, between Sean and I, especially being in the band for 10 years, we felt like we were about to lose 10 years worth of work. It's our life's work being in this band. And there was a crushing moment where we realized that it just might not happen anymore. Make Them Suffer is built on this sort of brand where we have a female member. It's like as if to say, you're balancing out the male energy, the heavy energy of the band. And we reached this deadlock where, we were either we didn't know whether we were going to move forward as a four-piece or try and, reincorporate the female member. And from my point of view, at least, I wasn't going to move forward with the band without a female member. So I was also on the other side of the country. The other guys live in Perth. I live in Melbourne. It just didn't really make sense for MTS to sort of keep going as a four-piece while I was on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
So, finding that fifth member, it was a very, very, from our point of view, it was a very difficult task because one, you needed to find the right person, and number two, they had to be well equipped. They needed to have that experience under their belt. And number three, it had to be a friend. So the time limit that we had, especially this was another one, when we were down to four members, there was a time that we had booked a US tour. That US tour happened to have been with Bad Omens for their Death of Peace of Mind record tour in the States. This is before they'd kind of had their...
That was a bonkers show.
Yeah.
I was there in Philly. It was
a bonkers tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bonkers tour. So there was, we had shows booked, we had tours booked. we had no money in the bank account because our last tour before that was a tour in Europe with After the Burial and Spirit Box. They were opening that tour,
Mhm.
and we lost a lot of money from that, and like that tour got cut short, and we had to fly home 2 weeks early because of COVID, that sort of
Goddamn.
situation.
Mm.
And for 2 years we weren't able to earn any revenue for the band.
Wow.
So our bank account was close to zero. And, within 6 months, we had to find a new member, find a way to draw income to be able to tour, to be able to put out a new song, to do the music video, all these things. And it seemed like everything was against the odds for us. And leading up to that point, it felt like, there was always something missing from the band. We were going through, we went through a few different members, and not at any point over the 10 years that we'd been a band at that point was every single person sort of aligned with the same goal. Like we just wanted everybody to focus on the music.
Mhm.
And it sounds like an easy task, but it's really not.
Yeah.
And we weren't so lucky in we weren't so lucky in that avenue. So Alex was a friend of mine that I had met during COVID in Melbourne. So we had very, very harsh lockdown restrictions.
Mhm.
We weren't able to we weren't allowed to go out for more than an hour a day.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
And if we were out, it was to, you could only exercise or do groceries or, do your essentials. And we were allowed to pick like a buddy. And I'd just moved into this new area at the time, and Alex was living in the neighborhood. Occasionally, the restrictions would be eased, and we were allowed out to places like bars and restaurants with, sort of with limited freedoms. And Alex, I'd met at the local, events my friends used to throw, and I kind of knew of her through the local music scene. She was the vocalist in this band called Drown This City, who I was very familiar with, and I guess we sort of bonded through music. And over the time where restrictions were much more intense, we would go out and use that hour we had in the day to go for a run. And that's when we kind of got to know each other.
Gotcha.
So over this whole period of us looking for that fifth member, Alex had been my friend this whole time.
Yeah.
And we were looking, everywhere. We were talking about sourcing, like reaching out to people in the States and in the UK. And there was this one day that everyone had kind of like come to the conclusion. No one said it, but everybody knew this day that, okay, this is probably not going to be a thing anymore. And, the next day I was like, I woke up feeling really defeated, really down on life, and, ready to sort of capitulate to not doing music, not doing music anymore, losing 10 years worth of work. And then I bumped into Alex on the street just out when I was out for a walk, like down to the shops. And over that course of that time, we had talked about the adversities that we were facing with our bands. She was going through a similar thing with Drown the City, and she felt like she was about to quit music altogether.
Wow.
So we're going through very, very similar things. And so I bumped into her and she asked me, "Oh, how's everything going? How you going in MTS?" And I kind of lied to her and I said, "Yeah, everything's great. We're doing just
Just
fine. How about
great.
you?"
Oh, good.
You know, at the face of um at the face of just about to,
Thinking it was over.
break. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And she said the same thing. And she said to me right before we left, was like, "Don't worry, Nick. One day will be, you know, positive reinforcement. One day, we'll be side to side, playing the stage, sharing the stage together again." And I was like, "Yeah,
Aw.
yeah, thanks, Alex." And I walked off, and I had this light bulb moment, like right there and then, going like, "Wait a minute, hold on a sec, this might just work." And I
Yeah.
got on the phone to every person in the band and was like, "Guys, you might think I'm crazy, but
Mm.
Alex Reed." And then it took everyone had the same reaction. It was like, um, "Wait a minute, yeah,
Yeah.
that might actually work." Every person in the band had that exact same reaction.
Mm.
So fast forward, a couple of months. Alex joins the band,
Mm.
and after a series of, I want to say, I want to call miraculous events. These are things like um, pulling funds in time,
Mm.
getting visas sorted in time, especially with the US one,
Mm.
where we've had to cancel tours in the past because our US visas haven't arrived on time,
Yeah.
and we applied for this one in particular late. So we were
Goddamn.
kind of we had this Hail Mary process of like applying for this visa late because the funds came through
Mm.
um, a little too late, and right before, I guess, very, 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 very shortly before we were going to pull the plug and pull out of that tour, the visas had arrived in time,
Wow.
and then it was a matter of purchasing flights. Uh, got to that just in time. Everything sort of just fell into place, and we went from a couple of years of taking L's to um, taking W's for that year on. So
Yeah.
that tour put us back on the right path. I'm not going to go into detail as to what happened after that tour,
Mm.
but there was all I can say was that there was just a series of serendipitous,
Mm.
miraculous events that
Yeah.
kept the band together, and not only kept the band together, but reinvigorated life back into the band. And
Mm.
for the first time in 10 years, it felt like we were a unit.
Mhm.
Wow.
So I feel like it's sort of something that's taken 10 years. For 10 years, we were learning how to, navigate the touring environment. We're originally a band from WA. We aren't exposed to many touring opportunities.
Mm.
And I think, people from Western Australia tend to be quite colorful with regard to their perspective on life. They just go about doing things a funny way. And I
Mhm.
think we were sort of, learning how to um, navigate the environment over that time. So, finally, we're finally a unit after 10 years of being a band, and we felt it fitting to name the album self-titled because of that.
I would say so. Absolutely wild that like you pretty much woke up the morning that you saw Alex in person. You were like, the band is over, and then like
Exactly.
basically after that it was just win after win after win after win after win for pretty much like to reinforce that you guys ultimately made the right decision to keep
Yeah.
going.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's fucking wild.
Exactly right.
That is
Yep.
incredible. I'm so happy to hear that it went from it's so over to oh my God, we're so back. Like
Yeah.
just
We
to
was
put it in
Yeah.
just That's fucking incredible.
We were
That
that
close.
close. Yeah.
Wow. Just right place, right time.
Right
Honestly.
place, right time. Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. And you
Truly.
had the 2 years of the on and off lockdown to actually get to know Alex. So that box was checked of friend, know them well enough. It just worked out so perfectly. I mean, it put you through the ringer because that was stressful and
Yeah.
awful and depressing. But in the
Yeah.
end, it worked out perfectly.
Yeah. I'm skimming over this story. Like there's so much
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
to that.
Of course.
But that's the best way I can explain it in a very, very compressed. Yeah, there's a lot more to that, but
Of
Absolutely.
course, yeah.
I can imagine. I mean,
Mm.
the pandemic in and of itself is a story that could probably be an hour and a half podcast, especially I know it was insane with the lockdowns and whatnot over in Australia. Other bands we've talked to have
Mhm.
echoed similar sentiments to what you've been talking about.
Yeah.
especially where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well,
Goddamn.
we're here. We're chatting about the new record. So I'm fucking
Mhm.
amped that you guys made it out in one piece.
Yeah, goddamn.
So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for the album?
Yeah. Well, we chose to self-produce the record
Mhm.
because Doom Switch had such a positive, overwhelmingly positive response.
Mhm.
And we self-produced Doom Switch because we literally had no other option at the time.
Yeah.
We were still in lockdown.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the riffs and all the programming was done right here in my apartment,
Mhm.
and the guys and I were like, let's just put together like the first song we can and quickly and just like see what comes out. I was borrowing a guitar from Josh from North Lane, who also used to live in the area,
Mhm.
and he plays this massive. It's a custom shop. You can't buy it at Guitar Center.
Yeah.
These particular models. There's the signature model, but there's his custom shop, which is a 29 and
Goddamn.
a half inch. It's massive. It doesn't feel like you're playing a guitar. It feels like a different instrument. It forces you to play the guitar differently. So
Mhm.
I guess that's forced us um, to go down the uh, to write music differently
Mhm.
and sort of pushed our boundaries in terms of creativity. Before that, we were using six-string guitars and six-string tunings
Yeah.
and such. But this sort of forced us to write in a different playing style.
Mhm.
And I guess that's where it all started. So, seven-string guitars with an added, like all the guitar players out there, it's just drop A with an added E string at the bottom.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So you're not playing the power chord at the bottom. And then, this is the first time we're actually properly self-producing a record. Worlds Apart was I don't really like to count that because we didn't really know what we were doing.
Yeah.
But after this How to Survive a Funeral record and having spent time with Drew Falk, I felt like we harnessed a lot from that experience. And that combined with the overwhelmingly positive response of Doom Switch,
Mhm.
we chose to self-produce the record. So the songs would be written over time. We didn't. There wasn't really a period of time where I'd say most of the material was written. We had bits and pieces written along the way,
Mhm.
Okay.
but then it was in between tours. I'm just trying to remember exactly when. I think it might have been before going on tour with Parkway Drive
Mhm.
in the United States back in September 2023.
Mhm.
Okay.
We did the Never Bloom 10-year anniversary tour, in Australia,
Mhm.
and there was 3 months in between that and the tour with Parkway, Amity, and North Lane in the States in September.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we used those 3 months to consolidate all the ideas we had and try to have the songs arranged
Yeah.
so that after the US tour,
Mhm.
we had 2 weeks in between this US tour and a European tour. We used those 2 weeks to fly to Portland to have those songs recorded and mixed by Jeff Dunn, who we've had a connection with since Neverbloom, and he was also on the How to Survive a Funeral record
Mhm.
as an assistant engineer. So yeah, it was all very serendipitous.
Mhm.
The timing of recording in between tours, Jeff Dunn coming back to engineer and mix the record.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, we had everything knocked out while we were in. We had most of the recording knocked out while we were in Portland that year.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Now,
That's incredible.
self-producing, obviously it started out of necessity, but was there any sort of anxiety with kind of stepping in and being like, we're self-producing the single, now the full album, or was it just kind of like started out as necessity and then it was like, we dig it so much that this is just the route we want to go for the full record?
Yeah, it definitely did start as a necessity, and I think we're sort of taking a big risk here because we're quite vulnerable, aren't we? We're basically showcasing, hey, this is what Make Them Suffer can produce by themselves,
Mhm.
and there's no one there to protect you, to help your songwriting in any way. There's no one there to send you like what samples to use and
Yeah.
how to make your guitars sound good. I mean, mind you, um, we do have other people in the periphery who who have contributed to the record either through means of like additional production, but in terms of the body, building the body and foundation of the music, we
Mhm.
did it. We did it ourselves. So yeah, we feel like we're taking a big risk, and um, there's a lot of anxiety associated with how people are going to perceive our record that's self-produced. What if it comes out and everyone hates it, and now everyone knows that we're bad songwriters. So
Oh.
there's definitely that involved, and it's something that I'm going to have to live with every day until the album comes out.
Mhm.
I think the response to the singles hopefully relieves a little bit of that anxiety.
Mhm.
But the other thing I'm curious about is obviously you guys were touring a ton while this writing was going on. Did you guys struggle at all with like switching between the mindsets of like touring and writing? And obviously you guys were touring across multiple different continents. You weren't just staying home and touring Australia. So did you guys struggle at all with like that on and off of the different headspaces?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think every touring artist knows this as well, especially with us being in this period of we need a tour to survive,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and we need to write music to survive. And right now we're at this very interesting kind of like inflection point where uh, we have to build, and we have to do everything to make sure that this record is right.
Mhm.
And when you're writing in between tours, you face this problem of trying to get yourself into a creative headspace, because when you're on tour and when you're in the studio, you're in two completely different mind frames, and most people don't really, they find it very hard to just switch like that. There's a transition. There's a transitionary phase.
Mhm.
Sometimes, you know, the first song that you come out with in the studio isn't the best. Much like when you're at the beginning of a tour, you're not performing your best. You're still warming up to, you know, so it's a constant, it was a constant sort of ebb and flow of going in between two different mind frames, the creative, unlocking the creative part of your brain and then unlocking, you know, whatever this other side is.
The chaos of touring.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what song off the album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
Took the longest to write. I don't remember. Honestly, I do not remember. I feel like let me just take a second to think of
You're good.
it really depends on like that. We've had songs that were written around the time that Doom Switch came out, but we never really worked on them. But I want to say the most sort of, I felt like the most effort that we'd ever put into a song was maybe Ghost of Me. There was just like, there was so much back and forth, chopping, changing, revisions. I think by the time that song was released, we had like 20 revisions or something.
God. Damn.
That's pretty standard for us. Although I want to say 15 is a standard for us. This one made it to. And when I say 20, you know, we're going like 15.1, 15.2, 15.3.
It's a lot more than 15.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I remember, I'm pretty sure the last demo file I saw for Ghost of Me was like version 20. So I'm probably going to say Ghost of Me for that one. And what was the other one? My favorite song?
Yeah, your personal favorite.
My personal favorite. Yeah, that's honestly a tough one. When we write, there's different purposes to different songs. I like, you know, I liked Oscillator because it's when you translate the song into a live setting, that's when the track really shines. It's about, to me, the songs are written to the performance. You know, and I think without knowing who the band is, without seeing the band live, I think that'd be something that people might not get straight away. They'll hear the song and go like, they'll hear it very, I want to say, three-dimensionally. But then when you see the song performed live, it becomes fourth dimensional, because it's this, it's just another layer of energy on top of the music, right?
Absolutely.
So in that sense, I think Oscillator is my favorite track. From a you know, songwriters, from an arrangement point of view, I'd like to say, you know, perhaps Ghost of Me. I think, or I think Epitaph best encompasses what the band is about. Like when you're talking about I briefly mentioned at the very beginning, this band encompasses this yin and yang sort of energy. There's this heavy versus light, male versus female type of notion, and you know, Epitaph is exactly that, encompasses everything Make Them Suffer is about. It has the soaring chorus, it has the heavy section, it has that symphonic DNA that was the foundation for the band. So yeah, I'm gonna go with those. I'm gonna pick those three or four.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Wonderful.
In the press interview that was sent over to us, like along with the album stream, one of you guys mentioned that the album is like a collection of greatest hits or like your best work. Was that, and I don't know who said it, I was trying to find it when you were answering and I couldn't find it, but was that intentional? Was that what you guys set out for with this album, or is that what you kind of came away with at the end of the recording and you sat back and you were like, and that was the feeling you got?
I feel like that may have been more subjective to one of the band members saying that, but I mean, like this is the first time I'm kind of digesting I'm digesting that statement, and I want to say that in a way I think it is. There's there's things that we won't ever top on How to Survive a Funeral, in some aspects, but in the same way there are things that we won't top from the Worlds Apart album and from Neverbloom. So I guess in its own way, there's something about this record. There's a facet on this record that is our best work, but it's hard to compare it to the others, in my opinion. And I can guarantee you, when the album comes out, you can go onto like metalcore Reddit or YouTube or whatever platform people use to discuss our music. There's never a general consensus on which of our records is the best. There's, I think with a lot of bands you'll get, most people will be like, yeah, that's their quintessential record. That's the one. You don't have that. You don't have that with us. And I think this is going to be no different. You're just going to get different people being like, How to Survive a Funeral is the best. And, nothing will ever top their Neverbloom record. And then, there's a big chunk of people out there who say the same thing about Worlds Apart. So,
hell yeah. Well, I found the quote. It was from Sean. He said, it's Make Them Suffer's greatest album, except they're all new songs. And then he followed up with, but in all seriousness, there's a lot of eyes and ears on this record. We definitely had something to prove with this album, and I think we've achieved that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that sentiment. Yeah,
gotcha.
Definitely.
All right. So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener to the opener, close be a closer, shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
Oh, I left that up to Sean, honestly. That's not really my passion.
Fair enough.
When it comes to
everybody's got their thing.
When Sean's got his own perspective on song meanings, and the track listing would have a very, very strong correlation with how the tracks are listed. So from where I'm sitting, from my point of view, the opening title, The Warning, I think it's called, has a very, very obvious purpose. It's to introduce the record, kind of Neverbloom throwback style with a hint of futuristic elements, modern elements. I just know that I personally wanted to start the record with Weaponized, just to open with that riff. But as far as everything else goes, honestly, I'm probably the wrong person to ask. That's a question for Sean, because it ties in mostly with his lyrics.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Got it. All right. And would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating this record?
Headspace. Just very busy. I think I'd say the last 2 years, since, I guess coming out of COVID, the last 2 years have been the busiest of my life personally. There wasn't much time I didn't have much time to think about anything if I wasn't, I was working a job, at home.
Mhm.
And my routine would be, if I wasn't working my shift, if I wasn't training, I was in my studio. And that's what I spent most of my time doing. If there wasn't someone's, birthday event, or something that I really needed to go to, I would often, cast aside, like, being social with people, um, doing very, very basic errands
Mm.
to focus on being in that musical headspace. So, I'd spend just a lot of time in the studio doing trial and error stuff.
Mhm.
So I was very behind on life. Um, I guess that's the best way to explain my headspace. There just wasn't much room to think about anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that typically how your writing goes? Do you usually isolate yourself? To put it, I feel like heavily, but is that how you approach writing?
I think we tend to go into overdrive
Mm.
when we write. I don't know why that is. I'm not sure if it's a time limit thing. It's a science that I haven't been able to figure out yet, and I don't know if anyone's figured it out. I don't know if anyone can say they've really figured it out. The yeah, the when you go into a creative space, and I think a lot of creatives can agree with this, is that their minds go into overdrive.
Mhm.
So, that'll it tends to that tends to make you lose sleep, not go to bed at a normal time. And I guess as far back as I can remember, that's just how we've always written our music. Stay up until like 4 or 5,
Mhm.
5 a.m. sometimes, until the sun comes up, just to make sure that you've got that one part right. Otherwise, I can't. I just don't sleep. I won't sleep.
Yeah.
Fair
Gotta
enough.
commit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should you do it in the car with friends and talk with headphones on? Is work an album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
I've been going to the gym a lot, so if you had to ask me, listen to it when you're at the gym.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know every song's different, you know. Um, I think that I think that listening to it in a big open area with something that responds to bass, lots of bass. So if your car has a good speaker system, by all means, do that. But see a show. You have
Mhm.
to. I think you have to see a show. You might like the record straight away, and that's great. But buy a ticket and go see the show and understand the energy that the album produces in a four-dimensional realm.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yeah.
listen to it through your headphones, through your car speakers, you're listening to something in 3D.
Mhm.
When you go to a show and see the band perform it live,
Mhm.
you're experiencing it in 4D. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that.
All
Go
right.
to a show.
Uh,
Photo show.
yeah, I'll have to echo that sentiment because seeing you guys live and your stage show is what ultimately made me a fan of the band. I liked the music going into the Bad Omen show, but seeing you guys live, I was like, well, now I got to do it again.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
3 words.
3 words.
Oh, eclectic,
Hmm.
eccentric, and exciting.
There you go.
Oh,
And you kept with the
goddamn.
E theme.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Top of my head.
Hell yeah. And in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want your listeners to have while going through the album?
I've been really, really uh I don't know what word to use here. Adamant, aggressive.
Mm.
I really want people to know our narrative.
Mm.
Mm.
And I get that like there's so much more to our story that
Mm.
people will never know.
Mm.
But you ask anybody who knows us, who has worked with the band over the years, um, they will truly understand what the album means to us. So the best I can do is try to share the narrative with the world, with everybody else. And, hopefully people will listen to the record and feel just a part of that as well through the
Mm.
album.
Mm.
That's a good answer. Hell
Love
yeah.
it. Wonderful. Are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments during the creation of the album, positive or negative?
Besides the ones we've already
Stand,
touched on.
Yeah.
yeah. Look, guys, I'm sure there is something. I'm sure there's. I'm sure there've been, many, many standout moments. Um, it's just so hard to like pick out one because you know, the whole process was a journey.
Mhm.
Like from the very beginning of the story to where we're at now.
Mhm.
Um, I want to say I want to highlight the time that we spent in Portland with Jeff Dunn
Mhm.
Mm.
was a very important 2 weeks because without going into detail, we came in with a plan and we were going to do the recordings between 10 a.m. to like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, and then we'd have the nights off, and then we'd have the weekends off to do whatever we wanted over that 2 week period.
Mhm.
And due to unforeseen circumstances, we ended up uh, having to do like a 10 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Oh.
Thing because there were recordings, there were things that we had to rewrite and write completely new.
Oh.
So went from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday to 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. every single day for 2 weeks. And the last vocal take was done at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. 30 minutes before we had to get into an Uber with all our gear to start a tour in Europe. So there was just
Oh.
no stop. I'm telling you, there was no stop.
That's
Whoa.
insane.
Okay. You said so due to unforeseen circumstances. So did something technical happen, or was it just you guys just started and couldn't stop?
Um, Again, I don't want to go into detail, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, we just went into we went into the studio thinking that we were prepared,
Mm-hmm.
and like creatively, we
Mhm.
went into the
Mm-hmm.
studio thinking we were prepared, and on the second day, we're like, oh, actually, we've got a lot of work to do. So
Gotcha.
Damn.
Makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. Well,
Damn.
for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
This is gonna sound very I know some people would say typical of me, but it's usually a protein bar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't really eat much snacks. I just eat protein
That's
Yeah.
fair enough. What flavor do you
and
go for
an
though?
energy drink. An energy drink. I
Oh,
really like
okay.
those Quest cookies.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy them. We
Goddamn
have
right.
those at home. So
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Solid. And on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Um, it'd be like Western Asian fusion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We got yeah, me and Jaya and I. Jaya's half Filipino. I'm half Indonesian, and everybody else in the band, uh, we all prefer. I think most of us actually prefer Asian food.
Mm.
But we're also eating hamburgers and chips.
Yeah. It's the
So I'm going to
balance.
say Western, yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
Western fusion.
Hell yeah. And for the last couple questions, going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
My last meal would be, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this, but um, it's a paste called sambal, which is
Mm.
made from fermented shrimp paste, and it's
Oh.
mixed in with chilies, tomato, garlic, onions, things like that. It's made into a paste. I grew up on it, and you have that with rice, and you mix that with chicken or fish or some sort of, meat or vegetable,
Yeah.
soybean, but something involving that and rice, white rice, definitely.
That sounds delicious. I've never heard of that before, but now I really
Oh,
want to
it's so
try
good.
it. Oh
It's
my
so good,
God.
guys. Yeah, everyone I give the sample to, like, this is amazing and I want to eat this for the rest of my life. Just go to Bali or Indonesia and pick some up off the street and
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And then what's your drink?
These are really hard questions. Food questions are really hard to answer
They're so fun.
I know we went
because
from like,
I eat and drink everything.
dude, I
Like,
get that. I know we
everything.
went from talking about like the album and everything that went to that and the struggles, and then we were just like food, just out of left field,
Yeah.
food.
Yeah. Milk, food, beer, vodka, water,
Mm.
nutrient water.
Mm.
I'd eat everything. I like everything, and there's not much I don't like. So
put it
I
all
don't know.
on the
Drink a
table.
choice though. Drink a choice. I think I'm going to say Powerade or Gatorade, as you guys call it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid. All right. And if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
I'm going to go post uh post Fallout Earth in the like what you get in the Fallout series.
Yeah.
Like being in the yeah, the Commonwealth, I guess. I think that's what they
Mhm.
call it in the
Yeah.
series, right? Yeah, so the Commonwealth in the Fallout series. That's what I would
Yeah.
do.
All right.
Fuck yeah.
Hell
Good
yeah.
pick.
And I've asked the last question. Every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Ooh.
Nice.
What shade of purple?
Violet, indigo.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's just always been my color ever since I was a kid. Everyone used to say red. All the boys used to say red or blue.
Mhm.
Sometimes green. I was the only person I knew who liked purple. So
It's a good pick.
yeah,
Purple clears both of those colors, all three of them actually. So good pick.
Hell yeah.
yeah. Thanks.
So as I said, that's all the questions you have today. Is there anything that you'd like to plug?
Listen to the new record.
Mhm.
Go to the show when we come out and tour the album. Go to the show.
Mhm.
Really, really, really mean the world.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for silence. It's been Nick from Make Them Suffer, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.